think like we did the last one a month ago, basically, right?
Back in Bukuro, yeah. I think it was a while ago. We've been kind of spacing these out.
Yeah.
Probably.
I got everything set up though, like the YouTube and Spotify and whatnots, and claimed all the usernames, and yeah, gonna try and get into the habit of doing this like once a week, I guess, right?
Were there other Bukuro boys out there?
Someone took the Gmail, but everything else was open. Otherwise, yeah, I'm really curious what the guy did with the Gmail. Like, why'd he take that? Right?
It's probably just some robot like auto claim. Like, I feel like a lot of those email things is just.
But like Bukuro, like that
can't they just put in like random words or whatever and then just claim them?
Could, yeah, but I mean, so like, I don't know if it were like Ikebukuro, that would like make sense because that's like a word, but like Bukuro is like an abbreviation of like a transliterated word from another language, right? Like,
I guess, yeah. I mean, I think in practice, like a lot of these,
I mean,
bots are just claiming random,
just everything
or something.
Yeah, any combination of
letters that seems sort of like a word.
Try and eat that mic a bit more. You're a little quiet.
Bit quiet.
Yeah,
is it working?
I mean, I could turn you up if you want to hold it at that.
Yeah. I was just trying to see if it.
Yeah, no, it seems all right. Let's see here. Right. Yeah. Yeah, man, all the technical stuff super annoying. Like conceptually it's like, okay, well, you record the video, you record the audio, you
seems a bit like a silent movie or something. Like you're trying to sync the track with the video even though it's not direct, right? Or,
yeah, I mean, I haven't quite figured out how to do that yet, but yeah, no, like even figuring out like, okay, well, you need to upload it somewhere, but okay, so you need like a podcast host, which is like an RSS feed.
Yeah.
And like, you know, different providers want different amounts and some are free, but what's the catch if it's free? And like, I don't know, just a whole can of worms.
Most of the ones I've seen are on like, on some special player, like at least just like the fully audio ones, like not.
What do you mean some special player?
Like was it not Spotify but some other, almost like an app or something? I can't remember what it's called.
Well, yeah, no, like how it usually works is you have like an RSS feed where you essentially like link to a hosted file, and that's kind of like your publishing feed, and you know, pardon me, Apple Podcasts or like Google Podcasts basically just like reads from that list and like plays, like it's all just a wrapper to around the hosted file. But yeah, anyway, just nitty gritty stuff, figuring all that out. But yeah, I don't think it's particularly interesting to anyone, including the podcast host,
including other podcasters.
Yeah, so what do? We went to the beach yesterday.
You got kind of stung there.
Got stung, got violently assaulted by a jellyfish.
Yeah.
Invertebrate. What are they called even?
I think I mean it's an invertebrate, but
that's like the big family, right?
Yes, that's the biggest, I guess. Like, so it'd be some other phylum or genus or something.
Mosquito of the ocean, basically, right?
Yeah.
Like if you shrimps and lobsters, those are like technically like underwater bugs, right? But at least you can eat them. Like, what do you even do with a jellyfish? It's just useless to human.
You can eat jellyfish too,
really?
Right? In Japan, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, definitely edible. That's a big part of washoku, Japanese food. Yeah. You've probably eaten it before and not even. Like if you've had some, like izakayas, those little appetizer salads.
Yeah, like the little dish things.
Yeah, those little. There's usually some jellyfish of some kind in there.
Really? So, I'm wondering if I ate it in China. Come to think of it, I vaguely remember.
China, I'm sure. Yeah, Chinese food, they'd be including it too.
It was like almost like cucumbery or something. Well,
exactly,
like
right. That's why they
weird crunch type thing.
I don't know. I don't think it'd be crunchy. It'd just be like stringy, like almost. Again, like mixing in with some sort of
like cognac or whatever.
Seafood salad. Yeah, very much like that jelly, stringy kind kind of stuff. I mean, they usually do mix it like pretty well in. So it's not like it obviously doesn't look like a jellyfish.
Yeah.
But
you don't see the whole.
Yeah. But it's definitely in there in those little izakaya salads or other kind of appetizers you would get. So I'm sure you have probably, especially been in China, probably at some point you've.
It's kind of specialty dish though, right?
Consumed it.
Like it's not like standard fare. Like you get the little spinach thing, pretty common, right? Or some.
I think it's reasonably common.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like uncommon. It's just, I mean, in Japanese it's just kurage. So
Yeah.
It probably. I'm sure you've had it in a salad or some other kind of dish.
Need to keep an eye out for it again.
Yeah.
Just my feet have been taking a beating these past few months. It seems
broke it.
Yeah,
sprained it, or you haven't. Really
I don't even know what
happened.
What's
happened? What was
like,
the last read? Was sprained or
I don't. I mean, what's the sprain?
The bone, maybe?
I know some kind of like I think ligament damage or something,
damage,
or tendon damage or something. But yeah, it's weird because when I kicked in kickboxing, I heard the pop.
Yeah.
So I know felt
pop
pretty.
You didn't dislocate it or something, like
it wasn't out of place or anything.
Because you could walk on it. It's kind of painful.
Yeah, and like the pain was like very like. It was like, I could point to the spot, right? Like if I touched it in a certain location, I would feel it, right? But the last doctor basically took an X-ray and was like, there's no never was
broken fracture damage,
no fracture, but so that then the jellyfish yesterday got the other
taking some foot damage. I wonder if that's like Mercury retrograde.
That was
some kind of link there to.
Do you think there's a link between the like
foot damage season or something?
Foot damage season. Yeah, well, what about like the Japan mega quake season that we're in?
Could have been something like that too. Yeah. Although I was as I said, I was in the subway, so I didn't even like notice that.
Wait, which one? The one we had here? Well, because there's the initial one in the south, right? The initial big, like 7.1.
I didn't feel anything. Yeah, I was just. I mean,
we didn't have that here.
I got an earthquake alert, but I didn't like really feel any.
Okay, you're talking about the Friday night one we had here, yeah, which may or may not have actually been connected to that.
The bigger Kyushu one, yeah.
Like I think the origin of it was not quite like aligned with any sort of connection. Yeah,
could be. Yeah. I mean, it's still supposed to be another one coming soon, but
in Japan, they're always coming.
Yeah,
right?
In Japan, you're never too far from the next earthquake, right?
Yeah,
it's pretty standard.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. I know. I think I mentioned this yesterday, but kind of calls into question how good of an idea it is to be living on it's like three tectonic plates meeting. Yeah. Basically like right off the coast of Japan. Yeah. Like,
Yeah. It's like the Ring of Fire or whatever. What's that place where there's tons of earthquakes and volcanoes or something?
Well, that's like kind of like the Pacific Island chain stuff, right? But it's like way out there.
You never really hear, but I thought it intersected Japan, or you never hear too much about natural disasters in the Philippines, but wouldn't it seems like it would be a similar number.
I guess, yeah.
You never hear any, like Filipinos don't seem too bothered by earthquakes or typhoons,
tsunamis or
anything. It seems like it would be
maybe
similar.
A bit of typhoon stuff, but no. Interesting.
Doesn't seem to be as much of an issue for them.
Well, maybe they're just like on one plate versus Japan's on several.
Could be, yeah.
But yeah, like
Korea either. I mean, it doesn't seem like Koreans have a particular.
But are they on anything?
It seems like they'd be close enough that it would sort of connect up there. Could be wrong, but
can look it up. A quick map here, tectonic plate map, to see what it looks like.
Maybe it just cuts by Japan without intersecting with Korea.
Let's see. Yeah, Pacific Plate. Yeah, I mean Japan's like 3 plates meeting. I don't know. I couldn't even point to where Philippines is on the map here. I know, like, there's the Philippine plate on the right,
yeah.
but like, where's the Philippines in relation to it? Like, are they on the edge of it, or are they like just in the middle of it or something?
It almost looks like, from what I know, it almost looks like it's kind of right above it. So it might not be. It might be too far out in the ocean to really be directly affected.
Yeah.
I know there's stuff happening in like Indonesia. There's a lot of natural disasters.
Yeah.
Well, there's that like flooding, typhoon kind of
volcano stuff too.
Yeah. So
yeah. They're also like they're on the intersection of like several, right? Like it's like north of Australia.
Yeah, weirdly, don't seem to hear too much about it.
Well, of Philippines or Indonesia, because Indonesia is like.
Oh, you're talking about Indonesia?
Yeah, like you can definitely see why.
Indonesia, definitely, yeah. They're like right in the apex or epicenter or whatever. Yeah, so kind of makes sense. I love how Australia is just like smack in the middle of.
Just
like riding the. It just has like its own plate there. It's just like riding it in the center.
Yeah,
that's why it's like the most stable country. I mean, there's like no.
Yeah,
there's big waves and stuff, but there's no like actual. Earthquakes or like.
Yeah, I guess middle of Eurasia or middle of North America wouldn't be too bad either.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically where we grew up, kind of northeastern North America area. That like that's in the middle of the plate as well. Yeah,
it's also
right?
stable.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder how much of the sort of like anxious Japanese identity is from just growing up in the constant fear of earthquakes or something.
No, there's a lot. I mean, it's a big part of the culture, man, actually, and it sort of like plays into just like everything, like the religion and like the literature. I mean, everything. Like, there's some famous I can't remember. It's one of these like Middle Ages kind of texts or whatever. But there's some famous literary work by, I think it was a Zen priest or some poet or someone. But it was basically, that was the gist of it. Was just like everything. Like there's basically no point to human achievement because natural disasters would just like destroy everything, just like
wipe the slate clean.
If you put up some huge palace, like an earthquake would just like destroy it, or if you built some new village, like a typhoon would just flood it or something, right? So about like, if I remember right, he just ends up on a makeshift shack on top of a mountain that can be taken apart at any time, disassembled or whatever, because that's about the only thing that would kind of last or be not even stable, but just not really.
Is that why they stuck to wooden architecture for so long? Because it's just like everything had a shelf life.
Everything had a shelf life, and they're rebuilding. I mean, even the temples, they would just, of their own volition, they would just rebuild them every so long.
Yeah.
So they weren't just like leaving ancient buildings around forever.
Yeah.
Like, they probably leave things longer now than they did back then, actually. Like there's probably older Japanese buildings now than there was like in the Middle Ages or something.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny, but
yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely like the in transience or impermanence is sort of a big part of the culture. I think just because of that, because shit was getting wrecked all the time or getting destroyed by giant waves and earthquakes and all kinds of other stuff.
Yet they stayed here, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
Well, keeps the Mongols at bay, I guess.
Suppose, yeah,
right?
I mean, like, where else were they going to go at that point? I mean, already
kind of local maximum in terms of land mass, right? Like the largest island, period, right? Technically, Japan.
Yeah, so Honshu is the main one, the biggest one.
But like in the world, like there's not larger islands than Japan, I think.
Is there? Probably, yeah.
I mean, technically a continent is an island.
Indonesia has some pretty big. I'm trying to remember the size here.
It's like an island chain, though, right? I know.
There's the main Honshu is probably the largest singular island in a chain.
Philippines is like crazily broken up.
Yeah, Philippines is way more broken up there.
Let's see here. Indonesia. Yeah, it does look pretty big.
The main one is the main Indonesian island's pretty large too.
Yeah. But... Yeah, it lacks the like kind of
width, I guess, of Japan.
Yeah, probably. Japan is like even like it's Hokkaido. It's girthy. Yeah, like Hokkaido is like right across the strait, basically, right? But yeah,
Hokkaido is pretty huge too. I mean, like the Japanese landmass certainly is girthier, I guess, or wider. It's like more deep land, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some areas like in the mountains that are probably shielded from earthquakes more. Or
in the mountains, yeah. I mean, like more safer,
central kind of parts. Yeah.
It's a good question. Yeah. So, like the big,
like you never really hear much about like way out west, like Nagasaki or somewhere either. Like there doesn't seem to be much activity out that way. It does seem to be more just like Kansai or kind of out here, out this way.
Yeah. Nothing on like the west coast, I guess.
Yeah, you don't really hear about it as much. I mean, like Nagasaki or kind of down that way, like the real western part.
So I guess you don't really need to. I mean, because like the western side of Japan is what, like 200 kilometers from here. Like it's not that far. Kind of as the bird flies, certainly. Yeah. So I guess you only really need that much to get away from the main kind of
main hot zone or whatever. Plate zone. Yeah.
Interesting.
So there probably are safe areas, but you probably have to kind of plan it out. Plus, like people back in the day didn't know that, so they didn't really they weren't thinking about plate tectonics or whatever. So
just had no idea where it was coming from.
They couldn't really optimize for where things are likely to happen or whatever.
What's the biggest earthquake you've experienced? You mentioned you weren't here for 2011.
Yeah, I was in Hiroshima at the time, so I didn't really feel it.
Did they have much there or not?
No, nothing really. I mean, there was. I've definitely
you'd feel a bit sometimes.
Yeah, a little bit, but very mild. I've definitely there's a few big ones in Tokyo, even about I want to say a year or two ago, where things were like pretty consistently heavily shaking.
Well, we had the one when we were both like here, right? And like the painting was like
there's that one. There's a few
banging,
others. There's a few others where I've been in my apartment and tons of stuff was falling over and things were like really. I want to say about 2 years.
Like actually falling over?
I want to say about 2 years ago, there was quite a strong one. They do happen, but I've never.
Even that was probably what, like a 5 or something, right?
Yeah. I've never experienced one where I was like actually like frightened for my life or anything, but not saying it couldn't happen because given enough time, I mean, odds are kind of in favor of it.
You're in the right place to experience a frightening one.
If you just wait long enough, I'm sure there will be other pretty bad ones at some point.
Yeah. Well,
there was I remember there was definitely some bad storms. I want to say like right before COVID, maybe 20.
Oh yeah, true. I remember
2018 or 20.
It was 2019, I think.
2018, 2018 or 2019. There was like outlying places were just full flooded, and people were paddling around in boats in like city centers.
Oh, in the center of really?
Pretty Where? There's or was it Saitama was pretty. I remember people in Saitama were sending me like whole malls were just like flooded and.
Yeah, I don't remember this at all.
Streets were there was really bad flooding from a typhoon. Like I think it was 2019, like maybe
Yeah, like I think I remember that one because I was actually coming back from like a work conference in Osaka, and we took the Shinkansen, the bullet train.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was actually with Mateo at the time.
Okay,
and
yeah.
Where I think we're like transferring in Shinagawa station. And it was just like crazy, like just I don't know, about as close to like chaos as you can imagine in Japan, due to backed up trains. And but that was like as the storm was approaching, so it hadn't like quite made landfall yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember going to the supermarket like after getting home, and it was pretty much picked clean. Which I haven't seen since then, actually. I mean, outside of COVID times where like, I don't know. Well, that was mostly like toilet paper was like initially impossible to come across, right?
Yeah, that was, I remember that period definitely. Was intense storms, typhoon kind of wind. Yeah, like kombinis were just getting cleaned out. Like stores are completely empty of like everything.
We had a few intense like stormy periods a few weeks back, right? With pretty prolonged and loud and heavy lightning, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
And some strong downpour, but
there's been a little bit this year, but I think that 1 year was way worse.
Well, is it normal to have those kinds of storms like middle of August or whatever,
usually,
like early August?
It's
usually like September, right?
No. I associate it with the slightly after the rainy season.
Oh, really?
So
like July?
Yeah, late July, August.
Okay, well then that was basically when.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's usually
so it's pretty normal.
Post rainy season. I would say. So, but that one was definitely noticeably left a lot of damage and kind of flooded a lot of areas.
2019, you mean?
Yeah. Because my girlfriend at the time was working in this mall in Saitama, and she was like sending me photos of her workplace, and it was just like it was just literally flooded to everything was just destroyed basically, right? So yeah, and there was other places, I think, like even in Chiba. Oh yeah, it was Chiba, I think, was hit particularly bad, where tons of places were just flooded and pretty much ruined.
Well, Japan finds a way to bounce back pretty quick, right?
Yeah. Usually recover. But
my coworker was in Dubai earlier this year during that. I don't know if you remember hearing about it, but they had like pretty torrential downpour as well that just like flooded the whole city. Basically.
In Dubai?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not.
It was familiar. Like it was the cloud seeding gone wrong thing.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember that?
No. When was this?
This was like June, I want to say, or May or June or something of this year. Okay. Yeah. And they were talking like, you know, the news 1 week was like, you know, pilot cloud seeding project plans to like, you know, bring you know, greenery to the Dubai area, and then like next week headlines is like catastrophic Dubai flooding, like torrential
this
downpour.
Was actually a man-made natural disaster almost, or man-made disaster.
I believe so. Fact checked me on that, but yeah, he was like trapped inside the mall for like 24 hours or something, like overnight. Basically, people were just like sleeping like on the floor or something, or
and they descend into cannibalism or whatever. That sounds like that's a very like J.G. Ballard kind of situation, or like
over the course of 24 hours, just complete cannibalism.
David Cronenberg or something. That seems like one of those, kind of, especially because it's in Dubai. Like it feels like something Ballard would write, where like he wrote that High Rise, which is pretty much that, like it's like a high rise, people in a high rise building kind of, it just gets, I can't remember, but it gets like cut off or something, and it just turns into its own isolated society.
Some like Lord of the Flies type situation or something.
And like, you know, the different floors are like different social classes. And, different things are happening on different floors. And like, it's kind of like its own weird society. And there's like cannibalism and, you know, warfare and stuff, like just between the floors and kind of stuff like that.
It reminds me of the movie the Platform. Did you hear about this one at all?
Yeah. That seems. I feel like that's like the B movie version of High Rise.
Of that idea. Yeah, maybe.
Like, it's originally a J.G. Ballard idea from his book High Rise.
Well, was there like in High Rise? Was there like did the people at the top of the building have more access to resources or something?
I think so. Yeah, I can't remember it exactly, but I think they did do a film version of it a few years back, but I don't think it was very good or something. I didn't see it, but yeah, that idea has been really influential, I guess. But it does sound like, especially because it's just in Dubai, like it seems like it's like this completely artificial environment.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a few David Cronenberg movies where I think he did that too, like the what was it, Shivers or something. There's one where
Shivers.
There's a few of those movies where he does similar things, like people get trapped in some apartment, like high rise or something, and they're trying to escape. Or
trying to remember if I saw this. I might be thinking of Sliver. Shivers.
I think it's another, like there's some weird alien parasites or something, but
yeah, well, Slither's that as well.
It's
so
the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. No, I don't think I've seen this one.
It's pretty early days, like it's like 1980.
David Cronenberg.
Yeah. 1981 or 1982 or something.
Yeah. So I think I might have. It's what do they call it? So it's mockbusters. Have you heard of this term before? No. It's like when the Jurassic Park will be releasing in like June of whatever, whatever, and some smaller film studio basically scrambles to put together like Dinosaur Park and release it on the same.
It's just like a knockoff that comes out around the same time. Yeah.
So like kids would rent it because they don't know any better or something.
Maybe
right?
They think it's like Jurassic Park or something. Yeah.
Or like parents will be like, "Oh, hey, I got that movie you wanted to see." And
the dinosaur movie. And it's the wrong one.
Yeah.
That seems like very VHS kind of like that would. I was watching some video recently about like VHS culture, like in the 90s and 80s and 90s, I guess, and they're just saying like the nostalgia is just like bullshit because like it was actually like a really shitty way of like watching movies because they would only have like, I don't know, 2 physical copies or whatever. So like anything that anyone wanted to see would usually be like just always unavailable for like 6 months or something. So like half the time the only things that would be there would be like some weird, like something like that, like Dinosaur Park or like some weird obscure, like I don't know, Hungarian horror movie from like 1983 or something that like no one's ever heard of. And
it's kind of like, I don't know, the random aspect of it is kind of good though, right? Because you get exposed to random stuff that you would just never otherwise watch.
I think that was the flip side, which they sort of didn't really emphasize, was you would end up just through necessity, you would end up watching things you would probably like never have otherwise heard of or watched because the 3 copies of Jurassic Park weren't available, so you had to like find some weird random movie that you'd never heard of. So I mean that was the good side of it, but the downside was that you would want to get like Jurassic Park and your mom would come home with like Dinosaur Park or something. It's like some ridiculous low budget movie. I think I mentioned this podcast to you a few times, called Zach Amico's Midnight Spook Show. It's like a watch along movie podcast. He's just like watching like low budget movies or something.
Basically like cult classic horror, like genre films or whatever, like just kind of exactly the type of movie I just talked about, like Shivers or whatever.
Well, I mean,
like
Shivers
body
is like
horror.
That too,
but lots of interesting like perspective from him because he's also like worked on film productions. Do you know Trauma?
Yeah.
So he I don't know if he worked with Troma or if it was kind of a sister company, Full Moon Productions or something.
Yeah. I know them too. Yeah.
Okay.
Charles Band or whatever.
Maybe.
is the owner, I think.
I'm bad with names. Was he like kind of crazy? Did he have that reputation? If so,
I don't know in depth, but it's like beyond low budget kind of stuff. I mean, it's just
well, they'd like cut like 25 movies a year or something, right? They're just like banging them out one after another, right? Yeah. But one of the funny quotes that Zach shared basically was the reason that Full Moon stayed in business was because their fans were like thieves. Okay, because basically they would like rent the VHS and then steal it, and the store would have to buy like another rental
one.
And like those are priced differently, right? It's like $100 or $200 for the rental VHS copy versus the personal one.
What would the difference be? I mean,
just licensing, right? Okay, because like one is for like repeated rental and the other one is like for personal sale. So that's how the agreements worked basically for whatever reason.
Yeah, well, I mean, I did see a few Full Moon movies when I was a kid, and after a while, like they're all beyond awful. I was like most of them I got about 30 minutes and I was like, man, this is not even, they're not even taking this remotely seriously. Like, I mean,
like it's tricky. Like some of those movies do end up being good once the climax hits, and you're like actually like, okay, this is like good gore, like good, like the concept kind of pays off.
I thought that Troma they were able to
a bit more of that.
I thought Troma they were able to achieve that with.
Yeah, I think Full Moon did have the reputation of being.
Full Moon was just beyond. I feel like it's like.
Well, they were like just doing the mockbusters basically, right? Like it was just like, let's throw shit at the wall and see what sticks.
Most
basically,
of it was just shit, basically. But there's definitely some classic Troma, like Toxic Avenger, Samurai Cop or whatever.
Nukem High, I think.
Yeah, Nukem High. There's like some Sergeant Kabuki Man or something. Like there's some. They do have some ridiculous ones that are like pretty funny. The original Toxic Avenger is hilarious if you're in the right frame of mind.
Like I really enjoy Zach Amiko's Midnight's Big Show because you get the commentary also from someone in the industry and just weird facts about the making of the movie and why a certain scene ended up the way it was or just stuff like that. So like it makes the like terrible 45-minute like build up to the payoff tolerable. Because otherwise like I'd have no patience watching it like you, right? Like you need to be making fun of the movie in order to be able to watch it, basically, right?
That's all based on Mystery Science Theater 3000, which was the original TV show that used to do that. Like, have you seen that? Or
I mean, I've heard reference to it again, probably through the same podcast, but no, I don't think
that's sort of the original one.
So what they would commentary? They would do commentary, or what?
I think it started in the early '90s, if I remember right, and they're mostly watching just completely obscure movies from like the 50s or 60s or 70s, early 70s, and some of them were some of them were literally so bad that they sort of like sunk into like being art almost, if that makes any sense.
Like the Room territory, or what?
Almost beyond even that, where it's just like what I mean. It like there's a few of them where I'm trying to remember. There was one like Manos or something where it's like apparently it was supposed to be a horror movie, but it feels like it's just avant-garde art or something. It like opens with like a 25-minute driving scene or something, like 25, like I don't know, almost 20 straight minutes of someone driving a car.
Yeah, this is ringing a bell.
Things there's like this guy with a goat suit. I don't know, it's just, if I remember it definitely beyond surreal level of incompetent filmmaking. There's a few other ones where they're just they're like so bad where it just almost becomes like its own art or something.
Right.
And even the commenters are kind of left speechless, like
yeah.
like trying to work out how to react to it, because it's just so bizarre that that you can't even like normally make fun of it. It just like almost transcends commentary or something.
Yeah. Just leaves viewers spellbound or mystified, or
you're totally just mystified. Like, what is this? Like, how was this ever made? Or like, what? Yeah. But they were the sort of the first, people that were digging up some of those legitimately obscure things that I think became famous just because of that show, because they were putting it up there. But before that, probably like no one had heard of that, or it was completely unknown or obscure or whatever.
Trying to dig up some of these titles that kind of fall into this category. One sec here.
There's Plan 9, like everything by Ed Wood is sort of like that, like Plan 9 from Outer Space. It's just like incompetent filmmaking. So like the transitions don't make sense, like the editing doesn't make sense. Like characters just disappear and don't appear again. Like it just doesn't make any
characters getting introduced 45 minutes in because they realize they've killed off the first batch of characters and they need more fodder.
Things, I mean, it just doesn't make any, like, I think with Plan 9, like he got Bela Lugosi, who is the original Dracula actor. I think this was like like the late 60s or something. So he was like, I mean, he was near the end of his life, and I think he was like he was in really bad circumstances. He was like basically like a junkie, or in really poor health and just no money, right? So Ed Wood was like, all right, like I'll give you some money if you're like in this movie. He's like basically near death. He's like, all right, whatever, right? So he just signs on and cuts maybe like 2 or 3 scenes, and he just dies, right? So they're like, all right, well, we kind of like build him as the main star or character,
right?
So and by the way, like this movie has nothing to do with Dracula, but he's like still dressed as Dracula. Like he's wearing a cape, looks like Dracula,
right?
For no apparent reason, right? So he dies like 2-3 scenes in. So they're like, all right, we'll just cast a different actor, and he'll just hold his cape over his face
the whole time,
the whole time, right? So then there's some other random actor that's holding a cape over his face, and it's just ridiculous, completely absurd movie that by technically is just totally incompetent. And like transitions and editing are just like what like randomly it's daytime, then randomly it's nighttime, and it's just right, completely ludicrous, insane movie.
The Italian movies had that feel to them as well, where like apparently the directing style of Italian directors in particular is like scream at the top of their lungs until what they want is in front of them. Just like they're kind of just fumbling their way through the movie with like some loose idea of what's supposed to happen, and just like style over substance,
just improvising, or just totally like there's no script, there's no oversight, there's no,
or like the lines, all the actors would be foreign, but they would speak English and then dub them again anyway, and just like complete like, but
even the ones that are considered good, like the ones with like Clint Eastwood, they would like do that anyway. They just like overdub him, or but the Italian film industry at that time was wild too. They just get things finished by any means necessary, even if it's just totally improvised or incoherent or whatever.
But I mean, as long as you have a camera and you have like
a camera and a dream,
beautiful naked females,
naked chicks, and a dream, something will get finished.
Have you seen Troll 2?
Yeah.
That's also like
I think they did watch that on Mystery Science Theater. I think that was one of the. That was actually, I think that was one of the more mainstream ones they watched. Like some of the things they dug up were like really obscure and
even more obscure.
But I think that was one of the ones they went through. They watched a lot of those like really low budget, like 80s, like little creature movie, like Gremlins, Critters. But it's like,
but like the
knockoff ones that were like knockoff of knockoff of knockoff. So it's like, I don't know, creepies or crunchies or something. It's just like some weird random puppet that is like chasing people or something. So they did watch quite a few of those. And other just, completely below the basement, like 70s horror movies and other stuff.
Yeah. That reminds me, like there are occasionally like gems in this genre, right? Like the one that I just remembered, again, I think I watched this on the Zach Miko's Midnight Spook Show podcast, was Dolls, I believe it was called.
Okay, yeah.
And essentially it was like it was like Chucky derived, right? Like I think it was like of that era and kind of playing into that. And basically what made it stand out, essentially it was a horror movie about like mannequins coming to life and like killing people, right?
Yeah.
But what was interesting about it was rated G, right?
Yeah.
Like there was nothing that you couldn't show on TV, right? But like the horror was like pretty terrifying, right? Like it's actually like quite like gripping,
quite scary.
Yeah. But like again, completely like clean, right? Like I think mild violence, like they'll show some blood dripping or something, but like no gore, like nothing like that, but just like really, really creepy.
It's just creepy. Okay. Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, sometimes there's like something that's actually good that comes out from.
But like I wonder, like, is it accidental or was there like someone behind it who like actually knew what they were doing?
Could just be accidental, right?
Yeah. Could
just be
were they trying to make it good, or did it just happen?
Could just randomly happen. There's a few ones that are like that. Like there are some kind of underknown horror movies that are really scary. Like there's one called The Changeling.
Vaguely rings a bell.
I forget what it's about, but it's again nothing too explicit or gory or whatever, but just really creepy and scary. And I remember watching as a teenager, and I was like, "Wow, this is like way better than I thought it would be."
I don't think I've seen this.
To have such a low profile, like it still has a pretty low profile, I guess, but it's actually like really creepy, scary, way more than you would think. I remember thinking it was like even better than like The Exorcist or something. Like I remember thinking it was comparing favorably even to like really well known like Rosemary's Baby or The Exorcist. I remember thinking this one was like even scarier kind of. Yeah, so there's a few that are kind of under the cracks like that that are, I guess, have like really good reputations now, but weren't really big when they came out for whatever reason. Yeah.
Okay, so what trying to piece together here, like it sounds like you're not a fan of horror movies, right? Like generally speaking, you enjoy a horror movie, right?
I mean, I watched a ton when I was a kid and a teenager.
Yeah.
I was constantly going to the video store, just watching. Yeah.
I think previously you mentioned you're not a fan of horror writing.
No, like, I wouldn't say that either. No? I mean,
didn't you say it was like cheap or something? Or
well, like, I mean, most of the problem is with many things like Sturgeon's Law, like 90% of everything is crap, right?
Okay.
So the people that are able to do it well, I think there's people that can do it amazingly well, but I think they're very rare, and I think most of the people trying to do it in a very self-conscious way are like really lowering the bar.
It's like a high demand volume genre. Is that like it kind of attracts people?
There's a lot of people that think they're doing it, and I think they're just not even in touch with what it could be, or like what the more interesting examples of it are. Well, I mean, movies are the movies are kind of like this too. I mean, I have very little interest in watching like most of the horror films that are coming out recently, and I do think like the technology has kind of made it a little bit ridiculous. I mean, I have a hard time understanding how anyone can be scared of CGI anything, because I mean, you just immediately know what you're watching, and
I guess good CGI doesn't look like CGI, right?
If you can find a way to do that, but I haven't seen any, like most of the few things I've tried to watch in recent years. I mean, it's just like they're dumping a bucket of computer over everything, and I'm like, not only is it not scary, it's just, it looks even sillier than like a guy in a costume or something. I mean, it just doesn't seem to have any of that creepy edge or like real frightening sense. I mean, there's a few ones that have interesting ideas. Like what was that one, the Endless or whatever?
Yeah,
where they're in a time loop or whatever. There's a few that have like kind of ideas, I guess, that are interesting. But
so I think I mentioned previously to you, Smile. This is a recent one. This is more recent 2022. We have a few minutes here, I think, still
here, but that's fine. Yeah.
So like Smile, pretty recent. And essentially the concept is just that basically there's this series of suicides. Where
it's like a transmitted thing or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like you witness someone commit suicide in front of you in like a really traumatic way, basically. And like the gimmick essentially is that this person's like smiling ear to ear while they like kill themselves, right?
Not really something that makes me want to watch it. I mean, I guess it could be done well, but
well, spoiler alert, I guess. Like it was well done. I think like it was genuinely like they didn't overplay the jump scare, which I think like I'm always annoyed when a movie relies on jump scares to be creepy or scary. So they didn't overplay the jump scare, and like, you know, the center of the horror, like this central element of the horror basically is acting, because it's just a human like
acting,
you know, with this very like comically evil smile type thing. And you know, they're being mischievous.
I think some of the Japanese ones are like Mare Bito was really creepy and weird. There's some Japanese horror films that really get it right, and if they use CG at all, they do it in very unnoticeable ways.
Are like, these contemporary Japanese horrors, or
10, 20 years ago, I want to say?
Yeah, okay, well, different time, different genre, I guess, right? But just to wrap up the Smile one, the part, I guess, like the interesting aspect of it is in the first one, and spoiler alert, it's the reveal when you basically see what's happening from the perspective of like the person who's committing suicide. And it essentially cuts to show this like interdimensional entity that like transfers itself from like one person to the next to the witness, right? But I thought it was kind of an interesting addition to it.
Extra dimensional entity, but is it so it's not like but it's still like a bad thing, or it's not like...
What do you mean like a bad thing?
Wait, like if it was like some entity that's like connecting everyone and they're like still alive, it'd be cool. Like that'd be cool if it was like a happy ending where they're like just, I don't know, transcending or something.
No,
so like,
it wasn't.
Okay, it's not. Okay, yeah.
It was just, I guess the idea was some kind of like interdimensional parasite that kind of like transfers itself from host to host.
Okay,
this way.
Yeah.
But like, I can't quite picture what the entity looked like, but the general, like, the entity itself wasn't like horrific looking. It looked more like an alien or like
it's just like
bug or something, like
random thing.
Yeah, like it's not like some scary clown or something, right? It's just it's like how its like life cycle or whatever, right? But yeah, anyway, they're coming out with Smile 2, which should be coming out this year, but might also just suck as horror sequels.
Sequels are hard to get right.
Yeah. But I'll check it out either way. Yeah. But yeah, Japanese horror is interesting as well. Like,
I think it's way better at like the mood stuff and just general feeling of like things don't feel right or like something's weird or like I think it's way better at that kind of stuff. Where
have you seen The Audition?
Of the original one? Yeah.
I think that was like probably one of the best horror movies, I think.
Have you seen Mare Bito?
Probably not. Let me see if I can see what it looks
strange
like.
and kind of
Mare Bito.
Yeah.
Mare Bito. 2004.
That one's worth watching. I mean, it's also.
So is it like paranormal horror?
It's hard to say, man. I mean, it's one of those movies where it's really hard to work out what is like actually happening. So, like,
kind of audition vibes just from this scene.
It's very strange. Yeah. It's like
interesting.
It's one of those things where like the main character might just be like insane, but like you kind of see things from his perspective. So like what seems to be happening might actually be happening, or he might just be like nuts or something.
Yeah, losing his mind. Interesting.
Yeah. So it's sort of hard to get a grip on, but it's definitely worth checking out if you haven't, just because it does have that really like just atmosphere of like things are just not quite right and like something really bad is going to happen and like it just feels kind of creepy just watching it.
Yeah.
Which is like, again, I think the American ones, they're like so like build up, climax, jump scare, relief, build up, climax. I mean, they just follow this like stupid, predictable, pattern.
Well, the bad ones, I guess, right? But
or at least a lot of them. I mean, they follow that pattern.
It's it moves tickets, right? It fills seats, right? People want to feel afraid, even if it's like a cheap scare with like
popcorn.
zero.
I mean, at the end of the day,
value.
That's why it's like that.
But same thing, I guess, with horror writing, right? Like it's. Yeah, like the stuff that withstands the test of time and is studied or watched again is kind of few and far in between. Basically.
Yeah.
Let's see how we're doing.
I think
here.
We
might need a few more minutes. Let's do another like 10 minutes or so. Is that okay? Let me flick on the light though. Just
might have to pop it up a bit.
Yeah. Sweet.
Get some lighting there.
As the sun's going down here. On the subject of the audition, I thought this was a funny detail. Like at some point in the movie, they like share an address of the house, right?
Okay,
like the character says, come here.
Yeah.
And it's like some like Setagaya house address. And I looked it up on Google just because I'm curious. Check it out on Google Maps.
Is that the Setagaya murder thing, or it's not connected to that?
No, I'm not sure. But the house, like the address, which might not be where they actually shot it. But like it's like blurred out on Google Maps. Yeah. But probably just because it has the address, right? But I just thought it was interesting that it's like blurred out on street what's called street view, I guess like the
there was that famous Setagaya murder. Have you heard about this or
no? But if I had to guess, there's probably some tie-in where it was a copycat of a movie or something. Could be. Go on. I have another note there, but go on.
Well, this is just a famous unsolved Japanese murder case where it was basically like a home invasion. Like there was this family that it was like a parents and like one or two little kids or something, and someone just came in and randomly just like killed all of them, and then just like left apparently. But it doesn't seem like they were like motivated by like stealing anything or like taking anything, and like nothing was really missing. And and again, they didn't have any like notable enemies.
Were the killings like sadistic, or
I think they're pretty violent. Like more, I don't know about sadistic. Like, didn't really seem like, you know, ritual serial killer kind of stuff, but they're apparently like pretty violent. You know, right? And so again, because it's Japan, I mean, they obviously dumped huge amounts of resources into trying to solve it, and they just like never could. Like, they never found anyone that they could like really pin it on or definitively arrive at an explanation. So it's just become pretty famous because it's just kind of unsolved and you know, pretty disturbing, random kind of crime.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, that sucks for them. Interesting to learn about, but not trying to. And when did this happen?
I think it was like early 90s.
Early 90s.
Like
okay.
90...
So my timeline might be wrong, but again, I probably learned this from Zach Amiko. But Japanese horror used to be very like serial killer based. They're really kind of obsessed with that genre, I guess. I think one of the bigger things was Guinea Pig, right? Was that Japanese?
Yeah, there was.
Yeah. But but you know, when you think of Japanese horror, you end up thinking of like The Ring or something, right? Or The Grudge or whatever, which is like paranormal horror. And so the reason why that shift happened was Japan basically like banned serial killer horror movies from being made. I don't know if it was like a legal ban or if it was like a gentleman's agreement.
It's like an industry thing.
Yeah, but what happened basically, or what seemed to keep happening, was like copycat people would like start copycatting. Like there'd be like a serial killer horror movie released, and then like
someone would actually commit a crime or something.
Like there would be some kind of correlation between like they actually thought that people were being inspired by these movies.
Okay,
and so they like shifted hard into like paranormal
ghost
horror
direction and stuff.
And we're good at that as well, to their credit, right? So
interesting to think about that. I mean, I'm not super familiar with Japanese horror from like the 80s or earlier, but it seems like it would. I haven't seen too many serial killer focused ones. Does even the older ones seem more sort of supernatural, ghost focused? But
I need to explore the genre better. I mean, I was kind of like chatting with a few friends from the kickboxing gym, trying to get like Japanese horror movie recommendations for them, but a lot of them seem to like American horror more. So like even from the source, I
they're
could like
recommending other ones. Yeah, definitely.
They recommended like Teke Teke. Do you know that one?
I think I've heard of it. Yeah.
I haven't checked it out yet though.
I would say Maribito. Some of the Miike Takashi ones like Gozu is very strange.
Gozu.
Yeah, kind of David Lynch territory.
Okay. So that'll be like very bizarre.
Yeah, very strange stuff. And I think he did Audition too. It's the same director. There's quite a few from that time period that were, including original Ring.
Takashi Miike, you said?
Yeah. Okay. Original Ring, original Grudge. Gozu.
Yeah, he did
Audition.
Dead or Alive. Visitor Q.
Yeah, he's got a lot. The movies he made in that time period were all very strange and kind of. You're not really sure if it's horror. You're not really sure if it's comedy. You're not really sure if it's like what genre is this, right? But they're all interesting. There was quite a lot from that kind of early 2000s period. They're making some really creepy movies.
Yeah, I'm just looking at his filmography to see if any jog my memory. One Missed Call, which I think was remade in America as well, right?
Yeah, there was some of those. I think there's another one called Cairo, like Pulse, which was, I think, remade. I think it's another kind of, cell phone kind of movie or something.
Yeah.
Wish they were kind of coming out at the time.
Yeah, I need to go down this rabbit hole to check them out. Cool. Well, we are at an hour.
I think we're about at time. Yeah.
I think you need to run to meet him. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So here's the idea. I'm gonna release everything we have now. Basically.
Yeah. Let's get them up. Let's
roll them out.
Let's go live. Go live and
and we'll get into the swing of hopefully doing 2 hours a week, one main, one Patreon type thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, stay tuned, folks. Thanks for watching.
Peace.
Peace.
Yeah.